between Drake and Lamar, and whether that might be somehow connected to this. Of course, we do not know whether that is the case or not, but Matthew Morris is standing by. He's the author of Black Boys Like Me, Confrontations with Race, Identity, and Belonging. He is in Toronto. Hey, Matthew, thanks for taking the time for CTV News today. Much appreciated.
Yeah, no problem.
So you hear this news about a shooting overnight. What goes through your mind?
Well, obviously I come from an era in the 90s where, rap beef escalated into actual things that happened in real life. And you just hope that at this point we've learned from our history and that this isn't a result of that.
Yeah, what do you make of sort of the Drake-Lamar, the sort of ugliness their relationship has kind of descended into? Well, certainly it's not new, but it's gotten worse in recent weeks. What's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just something that's escalated over, years, to be honest. And these two rappers are in, the preeminent positions in hip hop. And stuff like this, when it comes to rap beef on wax, it happens. We're lucky as, observers to be a part of it. And you see in this situation where they've kind of gone back and forth. I think 10 songs have come out in the last couple months, or last month at least, where they're going back and forth. And for me, I think it's just a symbol of penmanship in artistry.
Yeah, we're going to show a kind of a timeline, Matthew, while we've got you here, about sort of the back and forth and some of these tracks that have come out here. Going back to we got March right through up until May the 5th here of this year. For folks who are not familiar, I know you're watching this stuff, you've been looking at this stuff closely for many years, but can you give us a sense of sort of the back and forth, what it means when there's sort of a diss track and how that relates to, the word disrespect, and how there's also kind of a marketing factor to all of this, a gossipy factor, sort of a publicity factor as well, Matthew?
Yeah, well, that's the side of it now. We don't know the backgrounds of it, but this is something that's been happening in hip hop for years. And typically what happens is rappers take shots at other rappers subliminally. So there's never really a call out that actually happens. And in this case, when a rapper named Future and his producer Metro had some issues, I guess, with Drake, some behind the scenes that for the general public, we don't really know. We can only speculate of if it's about, a girl or financial situations. Some people say that, Drake has a percentage in the hand in streaming. So whatever the beef was, they had Kendrick Lamar on a track, and he actually called Drake out in a more direct way, which resulted in Drake firing back at him. And this is something that, we're not usually privy to in rap. It's usually subliminal, but these two have been going at it with very, very direct messaging. The unfortunate part for me is that, it's kind of turned a little bit into gossipy stuff where it's talking about potential domestic violence and, sexual assault and stuff like that. And, whether there's truth or lies when it comes to music, there's always that thin line in between those two. So it's unfortunate, but it's the state of artistry at this point.
Yeah, I wonder, Matthew, whether you think, in the world of social media, that kind of supercharges stuff compared to, what you witnessed back in the 90s.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I remember famously Jay-Z when he had his beefs with other rappers. There was a festival called Summer Jam, and one of the rappers, Prodigy, rest in peace, he dug up information of how Prodigy was in ballet as a kid, and he put him on this big screen in Summer Jam. But unless you were there, you only heard of it through lore. And now, because music is so tied into social media, and this idea of being viral and the attachments to social media with the music, it makes it, I don't know if it dilutes it or it makes it more potent. I guess we're finding out in real time the effects of how music and social media, how they intersect with each other and how damaging it can actually be.
Hey, another question for you about, the image that Drake has, and I know that has been a big source of criticism for some of his detractors who have said, this guy's not real, he's not a genuine rapper. You think about where he grew up, from Canada, from Toronto, the family he came from, the kind of upbringing he had. So, anyway, to his critics, they say a lot of this stuff is kind of hype and hoopla and sort of amped up, that he's not real credible. Can you talk to us about that and how that is perhaps playing into all of this?
Yeah, I think that apparently is an issue, but I push back and say credible in terms of what we've known for 30 years that hip hop. There's an aspect of hip hop, of course, where the artists, the people in front of the camera, and the people who are writing the rhymes. There's an authenticity in hip hop music that isn't really tethered to any other form of music. But it's for a long time we've known that hip hop is also performative. If we start going down the line of people who quote unquote aren't really living their raps, there's not going to be many hip hop artists that are going to be left standing. So for me, yeah, that definitely has something to do with this beef here. Kendrick Lamar, in fact, states it many times in a bunch of his tracks that he's dropped over the last couple weeks. And yeah, that's an issue that I think that Drake has definitely been contending with over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, Matthew Morris, author of the debut novel Black Boys Like Me. Thanks for taking time for CTV News, helping us make sense and cutting through some of the noise, Matthew. Great to get your insights.
Absolutely. Take care.